He is the tinfoil chef, and he believes in freedom of speech.
Which governments censor what parts of the internet their citizens are allowed to access? In most cases, the answer is a list of countries with oppressive totalitarian regimes such as China and Iran that go out of their way to control what their citizens are allowed to see. This situation is on the edge of changing as the United States Senate considers a bill called the Combating Online Infringement and Counterfeits Act, which is ostensibly aimed at copyright infringement online. This bill, sponsored by Senator Patrick Leahy of Vermont, and 16 co-sponsors, would have the U.S. government interfere with the basic infrastructure of the internet in a way that would deal a crippling blow to freedom of speech online. For years, the United States has sought to persuade other countries that they should not unilaterally censor their citizens' access to the internet, that the wholesale blacklisting and taking down of websites that have not in fact broken the law is wrong. S3804 is the Combating Online Infringement and Counterfeits Act, which is currently being considered by the U.S. Senate. If this bill, or one like it, is allowed to become law, the United States would, in a hypocrisy-laden about-face of world-changing proportions, send a message to countries throughout the world that unilateral censorship of websites that the government doesn't like is okay, and this is how you do it. The bill would allow the Department of Justice to interfere with the Internet's domain name system that translates human-readable domain names like www.youtube.com into the IP addresses that web browsers and other programs need to connect to websites and various Internet-based services. The bill creates two blacklists of censored domains. The first list is longer and includes any sites that the DOJ decides that copyright infringement is central to the purpose of the site. The bill provides strong legal incentives to convince or coerce ISPs and registrars to censor all domains on that list. The Attorney General will also be able to ask a court to put sites on a second blacklist. ISPs and registrars are required by law to censor websites on this second list. The Electronic Frontier Foundation website lists the kind of websites affected, including so-called one-click hosting websites that allow users to upload anything and do not police those uploads unless they receive a DMCA takedown notice. Although the DMCA system does cause many problems, as many YouTube users can attest, at least it strikes a balance between copyright enforcement and the freedom of the users of these sites to innovate, create, and share. MP3 blogs and mashup remix music sites like SoundCloud, Mashup Town, Hype Machine. The RIAA has a long history of litigating against unauthorized sampling and musical quotation in all of its forms. While these uses should be protected by the Fair Use Doctrine, the DOJ might come to another conclusion, especially under pressure from the RIAA, and just take MP3 blogs and remix music sites offline whenever the recording industry complained about them. Sites that discuss and advocate for P2P technology or for piracy, like pirate-party.us, P2P.net, InfoAnarchy, Slick, and ZeroPaid. While these sites contain a great deal of news and political speech, they also regularly link to tools and information intended for file sharing, and the DOJ could well decide that infringement is central to their purpose and take entire sites offline. That outcome would be fundamentally contradictory to freedom of speech. In any of these cases, the result of being added to the blacklist would mean that the entire domain, not just parts that are alleged to contain copyright infringing material, would disappear into a virtual black hole as ISPs and DNS providers are forced to prevent their domain names from resolving to their IP addresses. In short, the four main reasons that this bill needs to be stopped are: A, it guarantees undue censorship of free speech online. B, it creates a climate of fear and uncertainty for law-abiding websites. C, there is a risk of splitting the technical infrastructure that is critical to proper functioning of the Internet. And D, passing this bill would send repressive regimes throughout the world the message that unilateral censorship of the Internet is acceptable, which it is not. The Senate is moving on this bill now. The collateral damage from this legislation would be enormous. Had it passed 5 or 10 years ago, YouTube might not exist today. There are links in the description to online forums that you can use to tell your senator not to support or vote for this bill. WFRT News urges everyone to take a moment and stand up for freedom of speech on the Internet. I've done so myself. It takes only about a minute or less to do. You can also help by hitting thumbs up and sharing this video. Thanks for watching, and remember, not all of the hot air is in Washington, just most of it. This has been a WFRT News Special Report. We now return you to your regularly scheduled frog.
Hello, it's Thursday, September the 30th. Well, that Combating Online Infringement and Counterfeits Act certainly sounds like big content has the Senate bent over in a most compromising position. I certainly hope it is stopped. It's long past time that the RIAA, MPAA, and big content in general realize that they cannot keep insisting that everyone do business the way they did 40 years ago. There are 9 new subscribers. AC/DC of the 21st Century, John Ferguson JF, Achilles Razor, Treapling 1, Jeff Brister Vlogs, Sparks of Madness, Golf Rocks 1234, Poor Jenny, and Jowie Sturkin. Welcome and thank you very much for subscribing. I'll resume the question of the day tomorrow.